Bridgette tightened her grip on the side railing of the small police runabout as the boat plowed on through choppy water. She did her best to focus on the large rocky outcrop they were headed toward as the boat rose and fell on the swell. Although technically an island, the rock mass in the middle of the bay had no redeeming features. About the size of a soccer field and covered with spindly trees that survived among the rock crevices, the island's only residents, a small colony of cormorants, ignored them as they approached. She wiped the salt spray from her face as she looked back across the bay toward the shoreline and wondered what the residents of the prestigious bayside suburb of Stone Bay would think when they read their newspapers in the morning. Her thoughts were interrupted by Officer Danny Canning, who was piloting the boat. "I'll get you to move into the middle of the boat and slide down, Detective Cash. We're going to enter the cave shortly, and its entrance is very narrow." Bridgette complied and shifted to the center of the boat as Canning gently maneuvered the boat through the swell toward the cave entrance. The young officer, who she had only met half an hour ago, added, "You'll need to keep your head down, too. The swell is a little unpredictable, and we've got very little headroom." She didn't fancy being knocked out as they entered the cave and flattened herself out as much as possible as the boat slowly approached what looked like a split in the rock face at the northern end of the island. She had learned from her conversation with Canning on the way out from the jetty that the split hid an entrance to a cave that was only accessible at low tide and at certain times of the year. As the boat moved forward, she could see a small amount of light reflecting off the waterline and marking the entrance to the low-set cave entrance. She knew this light was coming from the floodlights set up by the forensics team inside the cavern, and took a deep breath to brace herself for what was to come. Canning throttled back the outboard motor and deftly guided the runabout through the tiny entrance and into a small tunnel. Bridgette did her best to remain relaxed as the pungent smell of death began to surround her. From her prone position, she looked around at the cold and damp surroundings. She could have reached up a hand and touched the roof, and she marveled at Canning's skill as he maneuvered the boat around a sharp bend. The tunnel opened up into a cavern, causing Bridgette to shield her eyes from the floodlights as she stared around the underwater cave. She guessed the space was about 30 feet wide and 20 feet deep. She barely noticed Canning kill the engine as the boat drifted toward a rock ledge as she studied the scene before her. 4 people currently occupied the cave, 2 living and 2 dead. She ignored the coroner, Dr. Ray Warner, and his assistant, and focused on the 2 bodies that were propped up against the far wall of the rock ledge. One was little more than a skeleton, the other the bloated and putrefying remains of someone who had died recently. It was an advanced stage of decomposition. She could tell it was the body of a man, but not much more.